So you found the skeleton. How would you tell it's a dinosaur? You personally, how would you decide?
Well, interesting question. I don't know. I'd have to do some research on that.
Hey there, YouTube, and welcome to a very special episode of Noah's Zookeeper. This time, it's animated, and as you can probably see, I'm in a tutu. That's because my chat managed to hit the single stream target of $100 US to get me to wear a tutu on a video. This occurred during Kent with Ben 17, Dude, Where's My Con Man? On February 25th, 2020. So I'd like to thank everyone who donated, watched, liked, or commented on that video or any of my videos. Your support means a lot to me, and without you guys, I probably would have quit doing this a while ago. Anyway, back to what you're actually here for. When last we left off, Karina Altman was reading off Bible passages that included the word kind, as if that somehow constituted a definition of the word. Spoilers, she's not done yet.
Now, when Noah gets off the ark, God says, "Bring out every kind of living creature that is with you, the birds, the animals, and all the creatures that move along the ground, so they can multiply on the earth and be fruitful and increase in number upon it." So in Genesis 8, it is inferred that God commands these animals to reproduce according to their kinds to repopulate the post-flood world. And in the New Testament, Paul actually says, all flesh is not the same. Men have one kind of flesh, animals have another, birds another, and fish another.
None of that tells us what kind means, and now Paul seems to be indicating some other use of that word kind, because I don't think that your original idea of orchards has much to do with what kind of meat things are made of, which is what Paul seems to be talking about. Although it's pretty vague, and since it doesn't involve a definition, I don't really care to look it up, as it's so far irrelevant.
So Paul makes it clear, even in the New Testament, that there are differences among God's created beings. We are not from all one ancestor. We are very different depending on what we are.
Okay, I looked it up, and it seems that Paul is just talking here about various things that exist and aren't the same. He goes on to talk about celestial bodies and the glory of heavenly objects, and then to conclude that the bodies that people will have at the resurrection will be different than the ones they have today in some unspecified but qualitative way. I think it's a big leap to go from that to inferring some statement about ancestry.
So what are these biblical kinds? Well, in order to figure that out, we have to go back to our science class and learn our basics of animal classification. So this is Carl Linnaeus. So he was actually a creationist himself, and he is actually the father of modern taxonomy.
Indeed, and he was confused by the nested hierarchy of life that he did not predict based on the idea of special creation, but that was objectively present in life. He also thought humans belonged with the apes.
There we go. So he was a Swedish botanist who lived from 1707 to 1778. Taxonomy is the classification of living things. And Carl Linnaeus published 12 editions of his Systema Naturae, which introduced modern taxonomy and binomial nomenclature, which is the scientific names of animals. And Linnaeus actually often spoke of created kinds. He believed he was merely revealing the order God had put into nature.
Yup. A man who was alive before evolution by natural selection and common descent had been proposed didn't bother considering them. Not really surprising or significant, but you're not wrong.
So here's a quote from his book, actually. "God, infinite, omniscient, and omnipotent, woke me up and I was amazed. I have read some clues through his created things, and all of which is his will, even in the smallest things and the most minute. How much wisdom, what an inscrutable perfection." So his methods are still used today, and he was a creationist.
Well, his methods have been updated, and the original rules that were used for taxonomy are already being switched over to the still being compiled phylocode, which requires taxa to be monophyletic to be accepted. That being said, even after the full switch to the phylocode, most of Linnaeus' work and the older rules will result in about the same taxa, with the same name, containing pretty much the same organisms. It's really a testament of how obvious evolutionary relationships are, even when they are not recognized as such.
Which is pretty interesting. A lot of scientists will try to tell you that most scientists are not creationists, but actually a lot of the founding fathers of science were.
But are leading scientists still mostly creationists? Because I noticed you did a sneaky little tense change from present to past tense. And yeah, most scientists were creationists back when it was pretty much the only thing to be. Just like most of them in Europe before the Protestant Reformation were Catholic, since it was basically the only way to be in Europe until that point, unless you were Jewish.
All right, so we're going to review the basics of animal classification. Now, there are a minimum of 7 taxons or categories. There are sometimes more. We're just going to go over the basics.
First, the plural for taxon is taxa. because it takes the singular form of a Greek second declension neuter noun, and the regular plural ending for such a noun in the nominative case is an alpha that replaces the singular omicron nu ending. English tends to borrow from Greek's nominative case, so yeah, it's taxa, not taxons. Second, it's not that there are a minimum of 7 taxa, it's just that those are the ranks that Linnaeus came up with. It was a decent starting point, but we now know that there are so many intermediate taxa that the idea of ranking them has become essentially meaningless. That being said, giving the 7 Linnaean ranks for an organism will still give you a pretty decent idea of where it belongs in taxonomy.
So we're going to classify a jaguar. Now, a jaguar actually has the strongest bite of any cat relative to its size. It's a pretty fascinating animal. So we're going to classify him. So your first category is a kingdom, and he belongs to Animalia. There are 6 kingdoms. You have Archaebacteria and Eubacteria, which are just different kinds of bacteria. You have protists, like amoebas, algae.
Whoops! Protista isn't a valid taxon, as it's paraphyletic, in that it excludes animals, fungi, and plants, even though they are closer to some members of Protista than those members of Protista are to other members of the supposed kingdom. So maybe you meant to go with Eukarya, but that's a domain. See, this is why relying on Linnaean ranks doesn't work too well.
As well as fungus, plants, and animals. So jaguar is obviously an animal. He belongs to the animal kingdom. So next you have what's called phylum, and he belongs to the chordata, which is vertebrates, which are animals with backbones.
Whoops again. Vertebrata is only part of chordata. There are, in fact, invertebrate chordates. Sea squirts or tunicates, and lanceolets are all invertebrates, and yet they are chordates. Man, even sticking to just the Linnaean taxa, she's doing a pretty bad job at this. But at least so far, she hasn't misclassified the jaguar, just misdefined the taxa she's using.
There are 36 phyla, and actually 35 of them are invertebrates, which are animals without backbones.
Well, even the one that has vertebrates doesn't only contain vertebrates.
So all animals with a backbone belong to this one phylum here. Next, we have classes. There are 6 classes within vertebrates. You have your mammals, birds, reptiles, amphibians, bony fish, and cartilaginous fish, which are things like sharks and stingrays.
Ouch! Except that all of those but the cartilaginous fish are all part of the bony fish, the osteichthyes. Also, you didn't bother to include hagfish or lampreys, who aren't in any of the groups you mentioned. Additionally, the birds fall under the reptile category. So I guess you're wrong on that again. This is going really poorly for you. Probably because the taxonomic system you're using is fundamentally underpowered and has been corrected.
So he's obviously a mammal, right? So he's going to be in class mammal. Next, we have the orders within mammals. There's 26, and these include categories like rodents, primates, bats, marsupials, carnivores. So he's a carnivore. He's a meat eater. So he belongs to order Carnivora.
Okay, but being a carnivore doesn't put you in order Carnivora, nor does being in order Carnivora make you a carnivore. For example, many bats are carnivores, but they're in Chiroptera, and pandas eat pretty much nothing but grass, and they're in Carnivora.
Next, you've got family. There are 6 families within Carnivora, and that includes dogs, cats, something called mustelids, which are like otters, pinnipeds, which are seals and sea lions, ursids, which are bears, and vivarids, which are things like hyenas and mongooses. So he belongs to the feline kind. He's a cat, right?
Well, feline is a bit ambiguous. What about civets, hyenas, binturongs, fossas, and mongooses? They're all much more cat-like than they are like bears, seals, raccoons, or dogs, all of whom are much more like each other than the first group. Why are you failing to distinguish between Feliformia and Felidae? Is it to keep the illusion that animals aren't related?
And then next we've got our genuses. Genuses, there are 3 within the cat kind. There are big cats, small cats, and cheetahs. Cheetahs get their own group because they're kind of special. So jaguar, he's obviously a big cat, so he belongs to Panthera. And the very last thing you have is your species. Now this is the most specific categorization of animals, and so he's species Onca, so he is the jaguar.
You got to a section where I have nothing to complain about. Finally.
So species are always written in binomial nomenclature, which looks like this, Panthera onca, and it's always in Latin.
Except when it's Greek, or Mandarin, or English, or a whole host of other languages. In fact, the genus name you just cited is Greek.
And that is because, and it's italicized as well, and that is because this can be used worldwide, so they're recognized no matter what country they're in. If a scientist writes about Panthera onca, no matter what country you're in, they know they're talking about the jaguar.
But Latin doesn't help with that. What helps is the rule that a genus name can never be reused, and that within a genus, no species name can be reused. Technically, you could describe a new species in its own genus as your mom. That's 2 words, and it's fine. And now if you're the first one to name that genus and species, then the worldwide scientific community is just stuck with it. That's why there are like 9 different animals named in various ways after Barack Obama. And there's a dinosaur genus named after Thanos, the Marvel supervillain.
All right, so species are always changing though, right? They are not stable, they are in flux all the time. You always see new articles about species coming about. Now, species are not kinds. They are not those biblical kinds that we just read about in all those Bible verses.
Well, are you going to define kind? Because you said you would. And really, that's the important thing here, since it seems to be the basis for your disagreement with the scientific establishment.
So, we're going to talk about the differences between kinds and species. Now, Barrowmanology is the creationist study of the created kinds. The Hebrew bara means created.
Wrong. It's the lexical form of the verb to create. And as in other Semitic languages, in Hebrew the lexical form is the third-person singular simple past form. It means he created. It's an active verb with a third-person subject.
And the Hebrew min means kind. So baramin means created kind.
No, since Hebrew is a verb-subject-object language, and the phrase barat min lacks any indication that min is anything but the subject, it means quite literally, a kind created. Creationists can't even get Hebrew right, the language their favorite book is written in, and somehow they think they're going to show up basically all of science. Good luck, guys.
And that is also baramins. So for example, you have giraffes and okapis. They belong to the giraffid baramin, the giraffe kind. Okapis are actually related to giraffes. In case you guys don't know what these are an animal that was only discovered in 1901. They're from the Congo in Africa. And they have 18-inch long tongues, and they can actually produce sound that's too low for people to hear. People didn't even think these were real, but now they're quite popular in zoos. But even though they look like a zebra, they are actually related to giraffes. So this here is your giraffid baramin.
What about the North American pronghorn, which shares the ossicones of giraffes and okapi, as well as many other features and a genetic similarity to boot? Scientists put them in Giraffoidea, next to the deer and sheep as a sister group to them. Why isn't the baramin Giraffoidea?
Now notice that is 2 different species, so it is different than a specific species.
But earlier you said that an animal can't become another type of animal. But those aren't the same type. They're not even in the same genus. So I guess you were lying, or rather you haven't defined what a type is, nor have you really defined what a kind is. You're just giving alleged examples.
So when we're looking at animal classification, we've got this list again for the Jaguar here. So what is the kind? The kind is usually at this family level right here. So in the Jaguar's case, he belongs to the feline kind, and that includes everything from cougars to bobcats to tigers to snow leopards, as well as the jaguar. Sometimes kinds are at the genus level, sometimes they're at the order level, but in general, your biblical kind is going to be at this family level right here.
What about genets? They're so cat-like, I'm not sure people could reliably distinguish them from cats. Or what about the extinct nimvarids? They were externally indistinguishable from true cats as far as anyone can tell, and only details of their ear and skull anatomy distinguish them. Why aren't these in the cat kind? Do they each have their own kind? How do you know? It would help if you defined the kind, and you say that the kind can get as high as class, so why isn't mammal a kind? Is it because it makes you uncomfortable to be in the same kind as a warthog?
So, for the feline kind, God created this feline kind back in the Garden of Eden. They would have had all the genetic potential to create all the species we see today. So God did not create a pair of tigers, a pair of lions, and a pair of jaguars. He just created the original feline kind.
See, that's part of the problem, though. Your idea has a flood that wipes out all felines but a single breeding pair. So you could only have modern felines in such a scenario with the genetic diversity you could get from a single breeding pair. And since apparently you can only use the existing genetic diversity, as you stated earlier in this talk, that means we really can't expect there to be any mitochondrial or Y chromosome haplogroups in Felidae, nor can we expect more than 4 alleles total for any locus on the nuclear DNA of big cats, or 3 in the case of genes on the X chromosome. But, as it turns out, just the clouded leopard has nearly a score of mitochondrial haplogroups. So either you're wrong about species not being able to gain new diversity through mutation, or you're wrong about Felidae being a kind, and in fact Noah must have brought some 20 or so female clouded leopards on the ark, even though they're not clean, so he should have brought at most 2.
And again, God only sent one pair of felines to the ark. He did not need to send a pair of lions, a pair of tigers, and a pair of jaguars.
Actually, according to your reasoning, it looks like he probably had to send dozens of each, just to account for the mitochondrial diversity, and that's ignoring the even greater diversity in the nuclear DNA. Or, you could abandon what is basically your only objection to evolution, that it cannot increase genetic diversity.
He just sent that pair of felines, and they had all the genetic potential to create all the species we see today.
Nope, because that's impossible. There's too much diversity in every species of felid in the world, including cheetahs, who are already incredibly inbred, for that story to be feasible. Sure, you can miracle it and say God restored some of the diversity in each generation through God mutations, but at that point, why bother saving any cats at all? Just magic the whole kind back, or forget about the whole flood, and magic all the naughty people to death, and leave the innocent kitties alone. See, the story just doesn't work from any literal angle.
Now, felines may interbreed to create things like this. This is a tigon, which is the father is a tiger and the mother is a lion. They may interbreed to create these different hybrids or even new species, but they're still cats. They're not turning into anything different. They're not breeding with anything different.
But the different cats are different. That's why they're in different species and genera. So they are making things that are different according to you. And yeah, when two cats breed, they make a cat. That's not exactly something evolution would predict shouldn't happen.
A cat cannot breed with a dog. A cat cannot breed with a horse. But a cat can breed within their kind, the feline kind. But they're still cats. They're not turning into anything different.
Except that, as far as I've been able to tell, no felids have ever bred outside their genus. So you can have Panthera hybrids and Felis hybrids, but there have never been any Panthera Felis hybrids. So apparently, a kind can become so diverse that it can't breed with other members of the kind. I guess that means that cats being unable to breed with dogs doesn't mean they're not in the same kind. So maybe Carnivora is the right level for kind. How would you know? And of course, she wouldn't. But any attempts of her to actually define a kind will have to wait. Because that's it for today. If you like this video, please remember to hit the like button, and if you're not subscribed, hit the subscription button. If you don't have notifications turned on, why don't you hit the notification bell so you're always informed whenever there's new Dapper Dino content. I'm the Dapper Dinosaur.
Thanks for watching, but before you go, I'd like to take a minute to thank my patrons, especially my $20 patrons. Bent Hovind, Ian Chen, Bob Knob, The Evil Scotsman, Henry Hutanen, Chris Love, and Res Instance. My team over at Patreon are helping me make these videos, and I have tiers starting as low as $1 and going all the way up to $100. So if you'd like to help out the Dapper Dino channel and help make these videos better and possibly even more frequent, then why don't you head over there and check it out. If a recurring donation isn't right for you, but you'd still like to help out, I have a link to my Amazon wishlist in the description. I'm the Dapper Dinosaur.
So you found the skeleton. How would you tell it's a dinosaur? You personally, how would you decide?
Well, interesting question. I don't know.